Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 24th of November. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this lovely winter's morning by Joshua Barrie, a.k.a. Yanis Hadji. How are we doing, Joshua?
I like it. Yeah, cold up here, Derek, but all good. Looking forward to tomorrow very much. We were obviously in the Blue Room on, Monday? So yeah, it's an exciting time before a big influx of games over this cold winter period. I've ordered a hat. That's what's happened.
Wow, scenes.
Yeah, I ordered a hat because I was too cold on Sunday, so I've taken steps to rectify that. So there's my outfit.
Good thinking. Before we look at all the Rangers news, folks, I know that so many of you are now watching us on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. And for those that have subscribed, I take my hat off to you. It's great to have you alongside us. If you haven't already done so, just hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a video when we go live. And apologies for yesterday. Some technical issues meant we weren't able to bring you the morning briefing, but we're back in business this morning. And Joshua, since we last spoke, we've been at the unveiling of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst at Ibrox on Monday. He took his first training session yesterday, and there's great footage on the Rangers official Twitter page that I watched last night. Particularly amused a little bit by Roy Mackay saying tricks are for the circus. I like that sort of stuff. No nonsense. I love him already. What have you made? His first training session. He doesn't have much time to prepare the team for Sparta Prague on Thursday. But yeah, what have you made of the little bit of footage that you saw?
Yeah, well, firstly, it was great to be in attendance. Obviously on Monday, it's a great occasion. Obviously, Rangers have only had 17 managers, and because of that, the unveiling of them still, feels like such a significant affair. It was the first one I've been at, so was very privileged to be there and very much enjoyed it. I thought he spoke really well, and yeah, again, I put my piece about it. There's only so much you can learn from these things, Derek, because he'll have rehearsed answers and he'll know what he wants to say. But I thought the way he communicated was just. It was just quite impressive the way he was trying to, I think, put certain ideas across, and he just seemed focused, didn't he? That's the thing. He really steely glare, which I got a little, I guess, a hint of when I asked about Roy Mackay and Alfredo Morelos, which I think they will get hopefully the best out of him. So, but anyway, yeah, and Roy Mackay, that little clip, although that is just a funny little clip that I'm sure was directed at the whole group. I would love it if they could simplify some of those forward roles and simplify Ryan Kent's role. There was a moment on Sunday, was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday, where Kent took on two players, but he took them on about 5 times and lost the ball. And it was one of those frustrating moments where you just wanted him to go for the jugular a little bit more. So hopefully that's something that the new coaching staff do, change the positioning that he's picking the ball up in and allow him to isolate himself with markers more. But yeah, all very exciting. How much he can change before Thursday is, as you say, 2 training sessions, and I imagine there'll be a lot of analysis in there as well. I asked him about that. How would you do that without overloading the players? And I think it'll be a case of just adding little tweaks here or there. I think there will be noticeable changes because there is things you can change quickly. You look at Man United last night; they didn't look fantastic under Michael Carrick, but there's certainly some differences without the ball, how they won the ball back for both goals that can be inflicted pretty quickly upon the setup. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, and especially after Sunday, Derek, you can't, you certainly can't fail from going away from that system because it showed its frailties all in one game, didn't it?
Yeah, I chuckled at this CGM 55 saying he was sat constantly refreshing his phone all yesterday morning, missing our video briefing. We do apologise for that. We'll hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't happen again. Nancy Lyons is got in touch. Hi, Nancy. Good morning. Rob Call has come in with a message here. Do you expect many massive changes for tomorrow, or will he go with the knowledge of staff that has been there and footage games he has seen? Now, I did see in the footage yesterday Dave McCallum taking part in some of the drills. You'd imagine that he'll be liaising with him, and I'm sure McCallum and Brian Gilmore and Jermaine Defoe will be passing on bit of tidbits and knowledge. In terms of changes, though, and Joshua, I know a lot of people were saying they would like to see Goldson drop out, given his comments on Sunday, but player-wise, personnel-wise, I don't think he's got much scope to change much, to be honest.
No, I mean, I think you'll see. Personally, I think you're not going to see Ryan Kent and Joe Rebo play really narrow to Alfredo Morelos in the same way that he did on Sunday, although Kent sometimes did drift wide. I think there will be noticeable differences, as I say, in terms of players' individual instructions, whether that be the position that they pick the ball up in. You see how effective Aribo was in those early minutes when he was wide on the right and had a little bit of ascendancy behind him running it. Hanlon in particular, who put in that horrific challenge on him, I think within like 10 seconds of the game kicking off as well. I don't anticipate that the block without the ball will move exactly the same. And again, that could be something simple like the spacing between the midfielders is 5 yards greater, so that they're not as vulnerable to a switch of play. It could be that they sometimes invite play inside to try and win the ball back. Just these simple things. So for me, Derek, I'm really, really looking forward to kind of watching the game and seeing what's new and what's different, because as people who cover football and as football fans, that's what we like to see, isn't it? New things, and it'll be really exciting. But in terms of personnel, it's hard to predict that. I wouldn't be surprised if Sakala started as well. I thought his directness, whether he can kind of inflict that within Kent's game, but his directness is such a threat. And although it didn't work perfectly against Sparta in the away leg, it certainly was a feature. I think Kamara is a certainty to play in there. Will Davis play after such a heavy game on his legs if he's needed on Sunday at the Tony Macaroni? Hard to know. Will Nathan Patterson play? It strikes me, Derek, that Van Bronckhorst is going to be bold and chuck players in who he thinks are ready. You obviously seen two youth players, I think Can and Algeria. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but
yeah,
they were training yesterday. Yeah, they're training yesterday with the first team. I don't expect them to start tomorrow, but I would not be surprised at all if Nathan Patterson starts. So really exciting. And he also might just go with the tried and trusted a little bit more. I think back to Thomas Tuchel's first game under Chelsea, and I think all the Chelsea fans are fuming because he dropped him out and started, the old guard, so to speak. But he'll need to put in players who are going to take on his instructions. Don't be surprised to see an Arfield or the like played. But it'll be very exciting and a tough game. And there's the potential to go through in Europe. So although it's a delicate game, and I know you yourself have been a little bit cautiously optimistic about what the scoreline could be, equally, if Rangers go and get this right, it's a fantastic opportunity in your first game as manager.
Yeah, there's a cracking question that's come in from Ross Chalmers. Good morning, Ross. It says, morning, Derek and Joshua. Do you have any idea who the European addition to the backroom staff is likely to be? Now, of course, Ross Wilson mentioned this in the unveiling on Monday. Now, some names doing the rounds yesterday. First of all, Jean-Paul Van Gastel is one that is via Van Bronckhorst has worked with. Apparently, his club in China is encountering some financial problems, and that may mean he could be looking for a job. I think he's a likely one, although I'm not too sure if that has got any legs, if he'll come back over from China. Other names that were mentioned yesterday, there was a boy from Royal Antwerp that it looks like he's coming in as a talent coordinator, which is an interesting one. Zeb Jacobs, no less. So that's an intriguing one. Apparently he's mid-20s, so it'll be interesting to see what that. But I think another name that a lot of people were getting excited about yesterday, Joshua, was the fact that Dick Advocaat resigned as manager of Iraq after just 8 months. Now, when Van Bronckhorst's first season as manager at Feyenoord, he encountered some problems after the winter break, so much so that the Feyenoord board gave him Dick Advocaat as a sort of ad hoc assistant to help him out, and he did help him out. And I don't think it's...
You'd love it. I can see it. You would absolutely love it, Derek. I can see it in your eyes.
I wouldn't be opposed to Dick Advocaat coming in again. A wealth of knowledge. Would he fancy it? I'm not too sure. Who knows why he's left Iraq? But what do you make of this European coach that's coming in, Joshua? And who do you sort of having that inclination of who it might be and sort of the calibre of the person it might be?
You got to presume that the person he would want is Van Gastel, because he's obviously had him worked with him for so long. When it was interesting when Ross Wilson obviously spoke about this, and he was quick to address. I think he spoke about addressing the noise of a Scottish-based coach, and while he said he wasn't opposed to that in the future, at the moment, I think they're looking for a European coach. That tells me it'll be someone that he's worked with. I mean, I've no knowledge about this apart from my inclination, but my inclination would be that they'll be trying everything to get Van Gastel there, presuming that they've had encouragement from him himself that he's interested. So, other than that, I don't know. But what I will say, Derek, is it is really encouraging that he's already brought, I think, 4 people with him, and he's going to bring a 5th. That is a sign of a club backing a manager, because on the back of that, if you have to get rid of a manager, you have to get rid of the people that come with him. It's a costly business, but yeah, as I say, I think that's really encouraging, and that will only help him in his work. And we know, like you seen yesterday, Gio, and there's fantastic shots of Gio coming out of the training centre, as I say, looking terribly focused. He'll be a lot more on pitch and hands-on than Gerrard was, I think, in terms of leading sessions. And Beale, I think, was obviously the main man to do that. But Van Bronckhorst, I think, will take more of a role in that as well. So I think that's important to bear in mind. I've just seen another comment from Alan McDonald, which I'm going to seize upon, Derek, which says, "Is there any way Patterson and Tav could be accommodating?" Yes, Alan. Yes, and yes, 100 more times. I think Sunday was a perfect example of this, where you see there was and this is, I think, a structural issue that Van Bronckhorst will need to come in and change. There was times where Tavernier was just so inverted, almost within the half of the half, if you will. And there was so much scope to stretch Hibs and have a one-on-one threat running directly at them. I think in turn, obviously Kent from the left, Kent can do it from the right as well. But I think in certain games you could absolutely accommodate that. You look at the central positions that Tavernier started to pick up. I'm thinking for the cross for the Aberdeen goal, the Aberdeen penalty, which Sakala on. I'm thinking at the end of the Motherwell game, you'll remember Fashion Sakala went out to play as almost a driving winger for the last 10 minutes. That can 100% happen. And I think in terms of accommodating them both, that's the way that it can happen, instead of one playing in front of the other. Unless Patterson is coming on to help close out the game, in which I think he's really effective at that top end of the pitch, trying to counter press. So I think that can happen. Gerrard spoke about it in pre-season. We never seen it, apart from 10 minutes against Real Madrid when one did play in front of the other, and the block changed and you had the midfielders pressing out, and it didn't really look like it would work. So yeah, that for me would be something that I would really like to see. And it's in the same way role almost that Patterson plays at Scotland, but you'd be mirroring what happens on the left side with Tierney and Robertson, on the right side with Tavernier and Patterson. So we shall see if anything comes of that.
Yeah, good question coming in from Louise Wise, who says, "I really hope Bacuna starts. He needs game time to settle in more." I thought he would have had a chance of starting on Sunday. I was surprised not to see him involved in any way, shape, or form, given that he's starting his goal against Ross County. Would you like to see him tomorrow night, Joshua?
100%, Derek. 100%. I thought from the centre of midfield, he offered the squad something completely different against Ross County, in that he doesn't just, if he's playing in a midfield 3, he doesn't just take the ball and recycle it side to side, but he always commits a man, always goes beyond. And there was a few times where he threatened to burst into the box, and eventually he did, obviously, to score his goal. And you see, having that threat compared to if like a Kamara, instead of playing in the centre, is playing to the left, he's not going to be a goal threat. It just completely changes what the defence has to think about and consider. And again, if you commit a man, then what he does in turn in doing that is he creates space for either Barisic to cross or a run down the side. So I thought he was really good, and you've got to presume that working with Van Bronckhorst will only aid his development. Obviously, Bacuna came through in the Netherlands at a very young age, and had played a lot of games by a very young age, and was a very promising player. So I think a coach from his homeland, who will perhaps view football in a similar way, who will understand how to get the best out of him, is something that supporters should be excited about. And who knows if we'll see him tomorrow? He might be one of these players that is, because of this clean slate, although he was just at the start of his Rangers career anyway. becomes a really important player under this new regime, and I think he offers Rangers something they don't have from there otherwise. So he started, of course, in the away tie to Sparta Prague before he was injured. So yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, it's interesting. He used to play for Groningen in the Eredivisie. He actually gets sent off against Van Bronckhorst Feyenoord back a few years ago. Couple of questions come in. John Turner says, is there a press conference today? Yes, there is. Joshua, will you be attending that for us, or have you got details of that as yet?
Yeah, it is this afternoon. So be the second time, obviously, that Van Bronckhorst has spoken to the press, and it'll be ahead of the game tomorrow. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. And we'll have all the coverage from that afterwards, won't we, Derek?
Oh, we absolutely will. Yes. Gary Ward mentions can play Tav in front of a back four. I don't think that's been mooted before, Joshua, has it? Could you see that maybe moving into midfield, a la Fernando Rickson back in the day?
Well, I think you go back to something that Gerrard said, is that Tav's strength isn't playing with his back to goal, which in possession, playing in front of the back four, that's really what you have to do. If you think how the areas that Stephen Davis picks the ball up in, its vulnerable areas in the pitch, and he always has to be turning on a sixpence. So I don't think that's Tav's strength. I think defensively, I can understand and in terms of picking up positions on the ball, as we spoke about a minute ago, the central positions that he can sometimes pick up if he floats in field. I think what's more likely to be seen, Derek, is either the three at the back, as I mentioned, but also you remember when Nathan Patterson came on at left back against Ross County and drove in field. You can have a traditionalist view and think you need a left footer there to provide width on the left, but the width in the fullbacks hasn't been working, and equally then driving in field, or if a Tavernier plays in the same way a Cancelo does at City in terms of driving in field and being a playmaker from that position, while you've got an attacker providing width on the left, that can 100% happen. So it'll be good to see a freshness about this debate from the managerial point of view, because both players need to play, really. Nathan Patterson needs to play more games, and I think either of those could work. The left back one is also a really interesting one, that particularly I think you could have a bit of a lopsided formation where you do have Kent high and wide on the left, you have Tavernier coming in field, able to pick up positions. Maybe that allows one of your midfielders to go a little bit higher. There's no rules to what can and cannot work. So that's another element I'd quite like to see, but who knows if that'll be trialled.
Yeah, I like this comment from James from Down Under. He says, maybe don't upset you at the press conference, Joshua.
I don't think I did, James. I think that was just my boss noising me up, and I hope I didn't. I wanted to see. Well, I just thought it was Alfredo Morelos was the kind of, it's one of the big themes of this new tenure, isn't it? And working with someone like Roy Mackay, I think, can only help them. So it was said in good faith, and hopefully there is an upturn in form from the Colombian.
Yeah, there was a comment came in. There it is here. The Lost King of Scotland says, hopefully Gio shows goals in the door in January. And then this all stems from these comments he made at the end of Sunday. Now, yesterday or Monday, Richard Gough made comment on that, saying that he, first of all, he expected James Tavernier to speak to the media, and then he says that Alexa Stephen Davis and Alan McGregor should be having a word with Connor Goldson. He said Rangers is a club built on an ethos of no surrender, and they never surrender. First time I've been speaking about the Goldson comments that I thought was a little bit offside in terms of the game's over at halftime comment. It's one of those. He's maybe not meant it in the way he has meant it, but it's been taken in a way that supporters aren't going to be happy with a comment like that, Josh. And when you're upsetting a Rangers legend like Richard Gough, you know it's maybe not the wisest thing he could have said.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd encourage anyone to read anything on the Rangers review site, but in particular Gary Carmodi's piece on this, because he is, I think, an opinion that I'm over time tending to agree with more, that if you listen to the whole interview and if you take the context, and I think Goldson was just hurting. I think the halftime comment is worse, Derek, because Rangers had scored 2 goals against Hibs in a second half just 2 months before. I understand it was different. There was a red card, but it's not something that cannot happen. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Goldson's come back from the brink, if you will, with the Rangers support before. You remember after the mistake against Hamilton before COVID, there was a lot of anger at him then for that mistake. So yeah, Van Bronckhorst, I'm sure, as he said in the press conference, will demand the best out of his players, and he'll know who's in and who's not. And I think supporters will. You just have to trust the manager that whatever judgment call he makes will be right. But I think with Goldson, in hindsight, you'll look back and you'll probably think I could have worded that a bit better. But I think he is probably just angry and frustrated at the nature in which his team have lost that game.
Yeah. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone getting in touch as ever. Remember, if you've not done so already, get yourself over to the Rangers Review site and subscribe now. It's only £2.99 a month. Some quality content on there and support top quality journalism covering the club you love. It's just rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. And for those watching on YouTube, thank you very much for that. And if you haven't already done so, hit subscribe there as well, and you'll never miss a video. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest